We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly, but fires have been started and.
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C. and giving it back to you, the people.
My honor to introduce to you the 45th and the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
In America, the impossible is what we do best. There is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve. We will restore America's promise and we will rebuild the nation that we love. We will stand bravely, dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours. The golden age of America begins right now. America's decline is over. We will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth. I am with you. I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. The golden age of America begins right now.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Just Our Take. My name is John, and boy, as if, we got breaking news literally 5 minutes before the show was to come on. So David and I are scrambling to take care of that. And then David, I guess you had a little bit of emergency at your end too. And the fact that you're on the air right now is nothing short of a miracle.
It's true, John. And I hope I sound all right. So we had the internet go out, then we had the power go out, power came back. Now the internet's come back, but now my, all the stuff is not working right, but that's all right. We will make do.
Can you see the private chat?
I will check the private chat.
Just making sure that you can see it. That's all.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Go
Yes.
ahead and give your disclosure then before I get you totally off track. Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah. So it's called Just Our Take for a reason. The views expressed on this program are our own. You may agree in that case, which case, great. Happy to have you on. We're happy to hear that we're not crazy completely. If you disagree, that's all right too. And or certainly, if you think we've missed something, please educate us. Put it in the notes. We're always learning. So, but at the end of the day, it's just our take. If you disagree with us, don't be mad. Don't throw things at us. Just let us know in the chat.
Hey, the chat is fun too. We love when people either agree or disagree in the chat. Sometimes chat will bring up a comment or a suggestion for something that totally we missed. So by all means, utilize that chat. When we see them, we'll throw them up on the screen as well. And if you don't get there, make sure you leave a comment down below. Hit that thumbs up. I know, hit the thumbs up even before you've seen the show, because we're really good. We promise. If nothing else, we're great amateurs and we have a good time doing it, but we do have a lot of information to show out to you today. So you want to throw things, you want to throw things at us.
Go ahead.
Thanks,
go ahead. I can take it. I can take it. I disagree. Bring it on.
All right. So the breaking news right before the show, believe it or not, and we're going to come into this, but I'm just going to toss it out here before David hits the headlines. The breaking news before the show, Dan Bongino has been called up to be the deputy director of the FBI alongside Kash Patel. Oh my gosh. That's even more powerful than a Batman and Robin kind of thing, you know?
I like the way you said called up, right? It's like you're called up to the big leagues.
Oh,
Bongino, he's a guy, we thought he'd be running the Secret Service, but I actually think this is going to be a much more important role. So I am very excited about this. Yeah, that's good news. That is fantastic news. I'm sure. I wonder how he'll manage, because he's got an incredible podcast. I think he's like top 5. And I wonder how you manage.
He doesn't.
Doing all the things.
No, they're going to make him put it away. You know they will. Hey, David, before we get too far into that, because we'll come back to it. I don't want to repeat ourselves. Do you have access to the headlines? If not, I can do it.
Yeah, I have a couple quick headlines. Let me go through them. The first one, I put this one first because I thought it warms my heart. Joy Reid out. She was canceled today. MSNBC said enough. A second one I thought was interesting. Apple did enable a backdoor to their iCloud storage in Europe. By the way, the European Union, I guess it's UK, initially asked for worldwide app access. So everybody's iPhone in the world they would have access to, but ultimately that didn't happen. Kamala Harris wins an award. It's a little bit of a teaser. If we have time, we'll talk about it later. It's kind of a fun, quick hit. Pope Francis is not doing well. He's in critical condition. That's sad news if you're a Pope Francis fan. Friedrich Merz will likely become the new chancellor of Germany. Europe's biggest economy and largest state. He is a center-right. He's in the center-right Christian Democratic Union. One notch this way of far-right, allegedly. Trump's admin will fire another 1,600 people by midnight tonight from USAID. The New York Yankees is going to allow you to grow a beard for the first time in 50 years. Trump's going to sell a federal building in San Francisco with Nancy, named after Nancy Pelosi. I don't think anyone's gonna miss that building. And by the way, there's a whole lot more. This list could have been 15 minutes long. That's that much stuff. I just pulled a few fun ones out to share.
Let me just jump in with two other ones that I thought were really interesting. The American Bar Association known as a pretty left group. They just removed DEI as a requirement for law schools. And Mele from Argentina just announced that CPAC in Argentina and at CPAC, that Argentina and the U.S. would have a zero tariff trade deal. That's a pretty big deal.
Wow. That's really big. I wonder if Brazil follows suit. Brazil's got some people don't realize the U.S. is tariffed pretty heavily in many countries around the world. In Brazil, for example, for some electronics parts, it's like 40%, 40. And so you want to bring something into Brazil. It's a hefty tariff. So maybe they'll follow suit. That would be pretty exciting. Good on you, Mele.
Let's jump on in.
I was going to say, I saved a couple of other headlines for a little bit later. We can use them for quick hits. But yeah, I was about to say, but I think one of the areas that we wanted to hit on is, we have these amazing people now in their roles. There's so many things we want to see, but the latest was Kash Patel. I mean, what a win for America. Incredible. And the panic sets in. Why don't you tell us about that, John?
Adam Schiff is the worst criminal in Congress in the last 250 years. Adam Schiff went to the podium day after day after day saying, I know nothing about this. We're not going to discuss it. We're going to protect it. And then Adam Schiff, led the prosecution of the impeachment trial in the Senate of President Donald Trump. Talk about someone who was conflicted out of the game because he was part of the hoax that brought Charmella in, manufactured that false accusation, and then peddled it out to the world. And he continued, not surprising. He's lied about almost everything in his life. But now he lied just to set up a presidential impeachment. And that's what I was talking about, these disinformation campaigns. He should be investigated because he lied to the world about his interactions with Charmella, who is a whistleblower, and I can't stress it enough, that started a presidential impeachment.
So, and this little screen right here just makes me remember that we have a friend of the show that has decided that they are going to live stream our show using their live account on TikTok. So if we have people from TikTok watching us, welcome. We're glad you're here. We will have a TikTok page before too long. In the meantime, if you want to follow us direct, you can follow us. We're on X, we're on YouTube, and most importantly, we're on Rumble. So you can join us at any of those places, just our take. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and thanks for restreaming us. We appreciate that. Yeah, that is with the express written permission of Just Our Take Show.
Thank you. We do appreciate that. I love the way Patel comes out. He came out swinging hard in that one. Schiff is the worst in history.
Well, the funny thing is that that's not even the worst of what he's done. And when the worst of what he's done comes out, it's going to shock the world. I'm not even going to talk about it here on the show because it's quite frankly disgusting. And we have to change the rating of our show on YouTube. So that's not a joke. It's absolutely 100% true. So we talked a little bit last week about Tom Hanks and some of the things that he has been accused of. Let me just tell you that what we know of Adam Schiff is right up there, if not worse. So there you go.
Yeah, Tom Hanks has popped up in the news a lot lately. I wonder why. So has a few other people that have been tied very closely to Epstein over the last couple of years. So Pam Bondi, though, she's got it on her desk. That's a tease.
Just a little bit about what's going on with Kash and where we think this is headed. So right now, the Kash is in charge of the FBI. He's already told over 1,000 of his special agents, get out of the office, get back out in the field. And you're not you've been transferred from DC. And so that's a start. He already said that he was going to move 7,000 of the people out of FBI headquarters. They could save us quite a bit of money by vacating that building as well. But he did already say, get out, go out, do police work. And so that's a big deal. And then on top of that, he's got all of the cleanup to do. Who knows what the caseload is going to be? The caseload is going to be massive. And then on top of that, Trump just said, I need you in charge of, you came over from Steelers Live Hunt. Thank you. That's pretty cool. I hope that we can live up to it for a little bit anyway. So anyway, so
that's a big one.
Pretty fun. So go ahead and hit the follow if you would. That'd be fun. Anyway, so Trump just put Kash in charge of ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. It's actually at fire. What is it? Alcohol, tobacco. What's
Fire.
the B? There's something else in there. Anyway,
there's the things that go, but go on.
Oh, no, it's something else. Anyway, so he's in charge of that now. Listen, there's no possible way. Yeah, you know what? That's a great question, Newt. I'm going to come back to that if you would, or New Texan. Is that what it is? Newt or New Texan? Newt. It's X Newt X. Got it. Sorry. I'm going to come back to that because that's a great question and we want to talk about it. So he's going to be in charge of ATF. That is a big load by itself. There's no possible way that he's going to be able to handle that as well. So my gut, just John's take, I think part of the deal is to take a gigantic chainsaw to the ATF and put it back on mission. ATF has very famously created a lot of regulations that are treated like laws. And after the Chevron deference case that hit the Supreme Court last year, those are not legal anymore. So I think that Donald Trump, rather than go through the legal battle of fighting all those, scalpel, cut, chainsaw, whatever you need to do, cut a lot of that stuff out and then start over with an ATF that's slimmed down, if not folded under the FBI. That's my thought there. Then the other part is, there's a B in there too, though, Texan. There's a B in that one. Anyway, so my other thought is on the Secret Service. I believe, yes, Dan Bongino is going to end up heading that division of the FBI. Again, why not fold those things underneath them? If you can create, there's so many bureaucracies out there and so much money going to all these bureaucracies. What if we just take care of that? Now,
the B is for bureau, by the way.
The B is for bureau, alcohol.
Yeah. It is the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Hey, John, but I just want to say I love where your head is going with this, right? So I'm sure there's probably people still making moonshine. It's probably still illegal. And I'm sure that the alcohol and tobacco part of the ATF is still probably front and center and how they're thinking about things. But the other pieces of this, right, the firearms and the explosives, those tend to be connected to crimes that tend to be investigated by the FBI and with intelligence from the CIA. So you kind of hope that why wouldn't the FBI own that? And so I could see it very easily folding in. Putting people under the same leadership means you might cut a lot of red tape. So you don't have this interagency friction or interagency, communication issues. You streamline the whole thing, and you probably cut a few jobs or repurpose people, right?
Yeah, the bottom line is they've bloated. There is so much, and mission creep. Honestly, they're working on things that they have no business working on whatsoever. And when you look at some of the things that they call their mandates, it just again goes way beyond the original charter of what the ATF was supposed to be doing. Same with Secret Service. By the way, you may not remember this, but Secret Service doesn't just do high value target protection. They actually the ones that protect your money too. Yes. So whether that be credit card transactions, cash, what have you. I actually, when I was in a retail job a long time ago, I worked a case where Secret Service came in because there was credit card fraud. There was also a bunch of $100 fake bills that were being toted around in my territory. But anyway, so they still work on those things as well. I just see it as a streamlining thing, and I'm gonna support that in just a minute. But before we get too far away, I do want to talk back to Newt's question about Doge. We're going to be talking a lot about Doge later, but right now they're not just talking about doing a one-time payment. They're talking about taking 20% of savings and giving it back to the people. And if that's the case, then what they had originally said was a $5,000 payment. That could be closer to $50,000 when it's all said and done. So we're going to look at that. But there's also people pushing back already saying that's not their money to take back. I was like, hello, Hello?
Well, actually, it is our money, but I think most people, everyone that I know, so I feel like I can say most people are going to agree. Let's pour that into paying down our national debt, and also let's use some of those dollars to upgrade the actual infrastructure of some of these agencies that are important to us. Like some of the things that came out are your computer systems still running on software that was developed in the 90s, maybe earlier, I don't know. And so you think like today, the technology we have today, how could that create some massive efficiencies in how they maintain databases and ensure payments are done correctly, and just some audits are done, just like you could really modernize things. So pay off our debt, modernize the agencies so that future presidents, future administrations will have the they'll be the benefactors of it. And we, the taxpayers, over time will be long-term benefactors versus a one-time payment. That would be, I think, our wish. And I also want to comment, sorry, John, one more thing. I agree with you, new techs. If you put money, Newt X.
It's like there was already a Newt, so he had to make his name a little bit different.
Got it. Okay. So I agree with you, by the way. One of the reasons why we started to see inflation back in 2021 is when you put thousands, and that was only a few $1,000s in the hands of people. What do? They went out and spent it. Some saved it, most spent it. And that drove up demand for goods. And all of a sudden there were supply chain issues, and we saw inflation hit theoretically around 8 or 9%. If you put $50,000 in the hands of every person who filed a tax return, you would see inflation immediately overnight skyrocket, and that would be bad for everybody.
You are assuming based upon the old monetary policy. You have to remember that part of the plan is to get rid of the Fed. To get rid of the Fed, to get rid of federal taxes. Again, I'm just saying pie in the sky, right? Yeah. So yes. So bottom line is, yes, that would happen under the current policies, but there's a good possibility. I'm seeing too many hints of it out there, but let's stick with what we do know. I do want to jump back into, because we could go all night on this whole policy thing, the monetary policy and all that. And the problem with it is it takes us off our show. And I just want to tell you that one thing that happened, Good Text did say that there are midterms coming up in 28 that, is it 28? Yeah. That, or 26, the midterms in 26. Giving a good check would help those midterms a lot. You know what else would help the midterms? The midterms would be helped an awful lot if they got rid of the tax policy right now. Yeah. So all of those things would be good. And I think that we're just going to have to wait and see. Listen, if anybody would have put on their bingo card everything that's happened so far, you might as well be called the new Nostradamus. But nobody saw all this coming except those who were putting it out there. I want to share this one with you because, you know, I just love Anna Paulina Hopp. She has got some bombs to drop, but she's talking about all the stuff that's happening too.
And now they're going to panic because they don't want anybody to know who was on Epstein's Island, who was a pedo, and who is probably still sitting in DC. And the reality of the situation is this: there will be accountability, and America deserves it. We needed to know what the drones are. We needed to know that we were okay. We need to know about Epstein's Island. We want to know about JFK. The days of American government hiding from American people are over. We need transparency. We have done that. And we will continue to do so. I'm excited for Pam and now Kash to get in there and clean up our mess. And
so interesting there. She talks about Epstein. Everyone's talking about Epstein Island. The problem is, wait, you need a bingo card? You don't have one, Katz? I'll get one to you. I just need your email.
I was thinking the same. I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but go on.
Oh, no. So the interesting thing about this is they keep on talking about Epstein's list. But we've got Diddy's list and we have Weinstein's list as well. And those are going to be just as dramatic. Epstein is kind of like there's some Hollywood in there. There's a lot of politicians in there. Diddy is entertainment. Diddy is entertainment. And then Weinstein is Hollywood.
And the globalists. There's a lot of globalists in there. And maybe some royalty.
I put them in with the politicians. So either way, it's going to be ugly when it comes out. And I would just about bet that they have a way already planned out that they're going to limit that from just crashing the world. Can you imagine when you find out some of the things that were done? I mean, it goes beyond your imagination. It really does.
But you know what I love? What I love so far, and I hope this continues. Hope nothing stops this from continuing. I love the absolute transparency, and that I'm sure there's things that are even more horrible that we haven't heard about yet. But I love the fact that Trump's just saying, and the team behind him, hey, this is we pulled back the rug, and these were all the cockroaches that scurried that were underneath it. We didn't put the cockroaches there. We just pulled it back and found them. And I love that. It's even like him going out to Fort Knox. I don't know what we're going to find when he goes, but if they live stream that, there are a lot of people that are that have a lot of emotions about Fort Knox and our gold that's supposed to be there. Like, that's the kind of thing we need. Even though it's painful, will rock our world, we absolutely need to hear the truth.
Timing wise, it's interesting, the announcement about Kash Patel, because just last week, the Supreme Court voted unanimously, which was very, very, very shocking to me, that suppressors still could be regulated under the ATF. That's very interesting because that entire narrative came from ATF. No one else said it. The same thing with fully automatic pew-pews. Can't say that word on a couple of the other channels, so we're just going to say the pew-pew. But fully automatic, those are regulated as well under the ATF. Some could say, some should or could say, there's no reason you should have those. Others have argued for, and I'm not going to get down to that conversation tonight, but that may be something we talk about in the future. But in reality, it's just interesting that after Chevron deference, which again said these agents do not have the right to create laws. Laws come from Congress. But they did, and they're doing it, and the Supreme Court gave them the right to continue it in unanimous form, which that means Thomas had to sign on to that. And Thomas has been very 2A friendly. So it's just interesting. And then immediately following that, Donald Trump says, Kash, you're my guy. You're in charge of ATF now. And
we'll just slide that on over to you. John, we talked a little bit earlier today about I'm sorry, I lost my thought. We talked earlier today about the all of the different agencies and the fact that for a long time there's this question from the opponents. I'll call them the opponents because it's a nice word, who say you don't have the authority, President Trump. You don't have the authority. And you and I were talking about the fact that so many of these agencies, technically, they are in the executive branch. And who is the leader of the executive branch of the three branches of government? The president, which means Trump does actually have the authority to decide what happens and what doesn't happen. And
let me put this on the screen for us, Dave, because this is actually exactly what I was sharing with you when we talked about this, because it's important that we get the facts as opposed to the feelings, right? Because we back everything with facts here. Fact sheet. President Donald Trump reins in independent agencies to restore a government that answers to the American people. Remember, he's always said that. We're taking it back from the government, taking it back from DC, and returning it to you, the people. Did I do that right?
Beautifully.
Restoring democracy and accountability in government. Today, Donald Trump signed an executive order ensuring that all federal agencies are accountable to the American people as required by the Constitution. Under this executive order, the order notes that Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution vests all executive power in the president, meaning that all executive branch officials and employees are subject to his supervision. Therefore, because all executive power is vested in the president, all agencies must, 1, submit draft regulations for White House review, with no carve-outs for so-called independent agencies, except the monetary policy functions of the Federal Reserve, and 2, consult with the White House on priorities, strategic plans, and the White House will set forth performance standards. The Office of Management Budget, or OMB, will adjust so-called independent agencies' apportionments to ensure tax dollars are spent wisely. The president and attorney general, subject to the president's supervision and control, will interpret the law for the executive branch instead of having separate agencies adopt conflicting interpretations. Again, this is what happens is these separate agencies come up with, and again, it's just an agency. It's an agency that falls up underneath the president, under the executive branch. President has total control. Anyway, and authority is what I meant to say. These agencies come up with these differing policies, and a lot of times they conflict. So what happens? We have one American agency going up against another American agency in the court.
Yeah, wasting taxpayers' money, and we have bloated government agencies, and of course, not everyone. There are people out there that are critical of Doge. Now, some because they have a lot to lose, others because they just need something. They need to be part of a cause. And what's the cause today? The cause today is to push back on Elon and Doge. But at the end of the day, you know, when we see the government payrolls shrink and the efficiencies and the ability for them to actually act increase because they're now away from their home offices, they're out of the offices in DC, they're doing actual police work, they're not running down lawfare cases against a political opponent, but instead they're investigating real crimes. We're going to be in a better situation, and we'll do it and we'll spend less money, less taxes.
So-called independent agencies like the Federal Trade Commission, the Federal Communications Commission, and the Securities and Exchange Commission have exercised enormous power over the American people without presidential oversight. They're doing it on their own. They're going rogue. These agencies issue rules and regulations that cost billions of dollars, implicate some of the most controversial policy matters, and they do so without the review of the democratically elected president. They also spend American tax dollars and set priorities without consulting the president while setting their own performance standards. Now they will no longer impose rules on the American people without oversight and accountability, ensuring government that answers to the people. This order fulfills President Trump's promise to restore constitutional governance and accountability to the entire executive branch. Executive power without responsibility has no place in our republic. I love that he said republic. The United States was founded on the principle that government should be accountable to the people. That is why the founders created the single president, who was alone vested with the executive power and responsibility to take care of the laws and be faithful. Take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Voters and the president can now hold all federal agencies, not just cabinet departments, responsible for their decisions and the constitutional demands. There you go. So, and I saw that Marie had put in the comments that Pam Bondi had talked about this last week, and she did shut down because people started saying, "Oh, you can't do that. You're not a dictator." The fact is, these all fall under the executive branch, and he has sole authority over the executive branch, which, by the way, has already gone to court. It's already gone to court, and they've said, yes, indeed, you do, as a matter of fact, have control over all of these agencies that have gone rogue on their own.
Yeah. He's won quite a few court battles, or I should say the court battles that have been fought have been in his favor, and so far he's not been wrong. Which is exciting. The one thing that's come up, and I think this is, you know, I'll call it mass firings. There may be a few snags there just because there's different employment laws, and so they'll have to look a little closer at the employment laws to make sure there's no violations there. But outside of that, that's part of the executive branch. And it's always been part of the executive branch. It's just that it has strayed so much, especially in the last, I would call it probably 16 to 20 years. It's just strayed. It's almost become a fourth branch of government, and it's been out of control. And now it's being, you know, reeled back in. I love it.
I like Donald Trump's chances in court, should these things go to court. I want to share with you something else. We had talked about, sorry, kind of, Dan, where are you, man? You're supposed to be helping out over here.
It's Scott.
Oh, it's Scott this week? Sorry.
It's Scott, yeah.
We had talked about, you know, how much money we were going to give and how a CNN hack was giving the guy who kind of invented the idea a hard time about all of this. And so I thought I'd play this video. Got to go through commercials first. So let me get through those commercials and then I'll put it up on screen. How's that?
I mean, I think that's
in the meantime.
In the meantime, Elon sent a letter out. He sent an email out yesterday saying, hey, federal workers, you need to tell me what it is you do. And if you don't answer this email by Monday, I'm going to consider that you've resigned. Go ahead.
Yeah, consider your resignation. That's right.
Don't spend that Doge dividend quite yet. I'm Michael Smerconish in Philadelphia. Doge, they say they're about to show us the money. The Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, is claiming to have saved taxpayers approximately $55 billion through various cost-cutting measures. They're breaking down how they claim they're doing it on the department's website. For example, just yesterday, Doge published its latest cost-cutting measure. They say that it resulted in a value of up to $235 million in savings. It's also pointing out wasteful spending with posts like this, showing how taxpayers spent over $20 million on a boarded-up building over the course of 20 years. There's also a wall of receipts listing savings on the website detailing canceled contracts and terminated leases as part of the department's, they say, transparency initiative. And now there's a new potential layer to these Doge savings that's gaining steam across social media to give us some of that money back. It's called the Doge dividend, and it was explained in a 4-page plan that was introduced this week on X, breaking down how every taxpayer would get a $5,000 tax refund check funded exclusively with a portion of the total savings delivered by Doge, so long as Musk's goal of $2 trillion in federal savings is met. The tweet was from an investor and CEO, James Fishback, who's been a guest at Mar-a-Lago and has ties to both Trump and former Doge official Vivek Ramaswamy. Well, the idea grabbed Elon Musk's attention, who replied he'd checked with the president. It appears that he did because one day later, President Trump expressed interest in this proposal.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt because the numbers are incredible.
So with attention comes scrutiny. With Doge, the accuracy of its reported savings being called into question. For instance, an initial claim of saving $8 billion by canceling a single Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE contract was later revised to $8 million after discovering a clerical error. And that's not all. Critics are calling Musk out for the haphazard way that he's approaching cost cutting. There's the firings, then rehirings across agencies, questions about transparency, conflicts of interest, the true dollar amount of these savings being questioned, and the long-term impact of the overhaul. Well, who better to answer some of these questions than James Fishback, the CEO of Azoria, the originator of the Doge dividend. James, thank you for being here. How did this all come to pass?
Well, good morning, Michael. To tell you the truth, it came to me in a dream. I woke up, I called our head of research at Azoria. We met at Capitol Grill. We fleshed this thing out in 2 hours, and I'm honored that the president has endorsed it. This is a real plan to send the savings that Doge generates over the next couple of years right back into the pockets of hardworking Americans all across this country. They deserve it. It was their money in the first place, and they need a break.
Okay, I'm all for ridding the government of waste, fraud, and abuse. But at some level, isn't it all illusory? In other words, if there's a quote unquote savings made by Elon Musk and Doge, we're still $36 trillion in debt. So there's no pie to cut up. There's no slice of the pizza that I can hand back to you unless we continue to borrow those funds.
Our plan's really simple. Over the next couple of years, Doge will save a set amount of money. We're going to take 20% of that and put it right back in the hands of taxpayers. The other 80, as President Trump has pointed out, will go back to paying down the debt and narrowing the deficit. Here's the truth, Michael. For every $5 that Doge saves, as we believe calculated by the Congressional Budget Office, when this whole project is said and done next summer, for every $5, $1 goes back to the pockets of American taxpayers. Here's why. They sent their money to D.C. to be spent in America, not to be abused refused not to be disrespected and not to be defrauded. That $20 million to Iraqi Sesame Street, that money sent for a transgender opera in Colombia, all at the same time, Michael, that we have roads and bridges crumbling. We're losing 900 Americans every day to deaths of despair, alcoholism, and suicide. 8 out of 10 Black American fourth graders are not even reading at grade level. This is pathetic. The Americans sent their money to be spent in America. They were defrauded. They were lied to. They now deserve restitution. And the second point that President Trump, just one sec, Michael, the second point that President Trump brought up on Air Force One is that these Doge dividends will incentivize Americans to report waste, fraud, and abuse in their own community. Why? Why? Because the more that Doge saves, the bigger their Doge dividend check will be.
Okay. That's it goes on for a while. I could drop that link in the chat if you'd like to see the rest of it, but it's interesting, his take on it. I don't know. I mean, there are all the other issues. I would just have to say that I have a feeling that they've thought about that and are trying to work a program that would not cause massive inflation. That's just my guess.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I don't think there's any way. First off, I agree with in principle. You've wasted my money. You literally lit it on fire and wasted it. That sucks. It's not fair, and I want it back. So I'm in line with the rest of everyone else who feels that way. On the other hand, we cannot we as a country, and the rest of the world too, for that matter, cannot afford for us to go to some inflationary state, and we are heavily in debt. So if we're going to use this dollars for something, it should be to reduce debt. Now, we want to use it to reduce personal debt or government debt. Government debt first, because I hear you. There potentially could be a new way of spending money on the way. But regardless, we need to get our house in order first. Also, $5,000, 153.8 million taxpayers, according to Grok. I like Grok, by the way. $5,000 each. It's $769 billion in payouts. That's for $5,000 each. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Not when you look at the amount of money that they have already saved. You got to remember that, first of all, that doesn't happen unless they meet the $2 trillion per year, not just once, $2 trillion per year goal. So again, we'll see. I guarantee that they're thinking about this at a much deeper and much more well-informed level than we could ever dream of. I do have another video that I want to show because doggone it, we can. Let me just bring this up here.
You know, I can dream pretty big, John.
I know you can. I've been there. I've seen it.
You just said bigger than we can dream of. I just wanted to make that.
I know, but again, did you think this early on that they could find this much money?
And I agree with the good Texan. No more money for Ukraine. He's cut off. And also, we want our money back. Go ahead.
If you get savings from these Doge cuts, are you going to give any of this back to the American people? We keep hearing about these Doge dividends.
Well, think about it. Donald Trump announces the External Revenue Service, and his goal is very simple. His goal is to abolish the Internal Revenue Service and let all the outsiders pay. I mean, this is someone who is focused on America. Let's drive down our waste, fraud, and abuse. I'll give you an example. Cruise ships. You ever see a cruise ship with an American flag on the back? They have flags.
Oh, come back.
Did I just lose it? Did I lose my internet too?
I hope. Well, you didn't lose your internet because you're still here, but you do have a little circle of what? Yeah. So Good Texan was commenting on my comment while we're waiting for this thing to stop buffering. Most of the money we gave Ukraine was grants. That's right. There was very little in loans, and much of the loaned money was actually forgiven already too. So there you go. Forget about the fact.
Except Donald Trump has already smacked Zelensky and has already worked a deal where the U.S. is going to get rare earth minerals in the amount of $350 billion from Ukraine over the next 10 years. So
I know we've got a Ukraine segment coming up, and so I apologize because I jumped the line on that one, John. I will hold off till we get there.
like Liberia or Panama. None of them pay taxes. None of them pay taxes. Every super tanker, none pays taxes. Alcohol, all foreign alcohol, no taxes. This is going to end under Donald Trump, and those taxes are going to be paid, and Americans' tax rates are going to come down. That's what Donald Trump wants to do. Balance our budget and cut our taxes. I mean, imagine a Democratic senator going against that. What planet are these people on? People don't understand. We are a consumer-based economy. You and I, we buy stuff. Americans buy stuff. The Chinese produce stuff. The Chinese can't live without selling us stuff. We've got the power. We've got to use tariffs. We've got to use the External Revenue Service to take care of America and cut the scams, the abuse, the waste. And let's make America great. Great. Not like great like 20 years ago. We mean great, as in no deficit, and basically try to eliminate the Internal Revenue Service and our taxes. Cut taxes. Try to get them down, because we're great and we collect the money. And it's so exciting because think of how great America will be under Donald Trump and what we're trying to do. I just can't imagine a senator call. And by the way, these senators called me and said, one of them today, I don't like what Elon Musk is doing. I'm like, what in the world could you possibly not like? You've been in the Senate for 20 years. You haven't cut $1.50. And this guy's going to cut $1 trillion. You got the richest guy in the world seeking to cut $1 trillion. I'm in love with Elon because he's going to cut $1 trillion. And I'm telling you, the rest of this administration is going to raise $1 trillion. That's our goal. Balance the budget of the United States of America by the end of Donald Trump's term. And I am so pumped up for it because we are going to make America the greatest country on earth by a country mile.
I love it. Not just great, like in a couple of years ago, but like really, really great. And you know,
you and I were at CES one time, and we saw the Commerce Secretary at one point. What was his name, by the way? That little short dude.
I don't remember. Yeah, he wasn't. But you know, the beautiful thing is, if you say we're going to thin out the government and actually have them work on the things that matter most, you know, physical security, economic security, and intelligence, some of the other pieces, transportation, and, you know, FEMA, maybe real FEMA. So then all of a sudden you don't need a $7.5, almost $8 trillion budget. You don't need that. And if you can get our federal budget down to, let's call it 3 million or 2 trillion or $3 trillion, all of a sudden there is actually daylight. You can see it where you don't have to have a federal tax return. They only collect what, $4.7 to $5 trillion a year. So if you can just condense it down, it is possible to get there.
So what we're not even talking about, and it goes in our opening, he shows the first 100 days and some of those things that he's already started in or put into place. You know, the one thing that we haven't talked about on the show at all is the drill baby drill. We can come back to it another time, but he did say the fact that we have more oil. He didn't even talk about natural gas. We do have the second highest, I believe, natural gas deposits in the world, but we have, according to him, the highest oil deposits in the world. Well, if that's the case, there's a lot of money to be had there as well. And you remember in the first term, Donald Trump was buying oil from others at a lower price than we could sell it for. So if people were buying it for more than we would buy our oil for, of course he's going to do it because he's a businessman. Why are you exporting oil? We're a big exporter of oil. Yes, we are. And we're a big importer of oil too if we can get a better price.
Right. It's just math. But I love that. Energy independence. And also we can sell energy around the world.
Yep.
Love it.
I have another great idea from Donald Trump. You want to save some money and create some efficiencies? I know that you guys are, the Just Our Take audience is going to love this one. They're not going to believe it could possibly happen, but they're going to love this one.
Reports that you are considering merging the United States Postal Service with the Commerce Department.
So in case you couldn't hear it, he said there are reports that you want to merge the United States Postal Service with the Commerce Department.
Can you elaborate on this? Is something you're
Well,
considering?
we want to have a post office that works well and doesn't lose massive amounts of money. And we're thinking about doing that, and it'll be a form of a merger, but it'll remain the Postal Service, and I think it'll operate a lot better than it has been over the years. It's been just a tremendous loser for this country. Tremendous amounts of money are being lost, and we think we can do something that'll be very good and keep it a very similar way, but whether it's a merger or just using some of the very talented people that we have elsewhere, so it doesn't lose so much. It's losing a tremendous amount of money.
So some of the reports have been that the Postal Service would actually roll up underneath Commerce.
I absolutely love that. I mean, we talked about this, I think, last Wednesday even, right? That the post office was given, I think, $25 billion back in 21, and it's gone. Like they've worked through it all, and now they have their hands out again. And it just needs an overhaul. The post office was having to deliver packages at one point, I don't know if it still happens, for Amazon at a loss as the last mile delivery at one point. I don't know if that's still true, but that was the case for a while. Losing money to deliver packages for a for-profit organization. Mind-blowing. I will say,
here's one of the reasons, David. Here's one of the reasons.
Yeah, that's right. I don't want to hear it. Make it go away.
How about this? Almost 160,000 civil service employees are millionaires. When President Biden took office, fewer than 70,000 federal workers were millionaires. By 2022, the number grew to 76.8. The number ballooned to nearly 160,000. Oh, there's over 160,000 at this point. How is that possible?
I detect some jealousy in your voice right there, or envy.
Yeah, I should have taken a federal worker job a long time ago and been a cheat.
It's not in our DNA, but it just goes to show you, if you're a politician or if you're next to a politician, you too can be, or you could have. I don't know if that's still the case now, but you could have.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of ways that happens. Some of those federal workers, you just have to start looking at the different lists of federal employment, and you can figure out how they got some of that money. But
hey, John,
here's another video. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I would like to transition us to Ukraine, because I know there's some good stuff there, and I do not want us to run out of time. And
not yet. I just have this video I have to show you.
Okay.
I'd like to see a matchup of those, call it the top 100 puppet masters on the Epstein client list.
Do you think there's some overlap?
Strong overlap. Strong overlap.
When are we going to see that list, do you think?
I don't know. It's mind blowing that they've not tried to prosecute even one, not even the worst offender on the Epstein client list. They've not even tried to prosecute even one. That's insane.
Well, because they have a lot of diabetic grandmothers who were outside the Capitol on January 6th. They're kind of occupied.
Yeah, they've put 500 or 600 January 6th protesters in prison, and not one person on the Epstein client list.
That's right.
Will that ever come out, do you think?
I think part of why Kamala's getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Notice the date, John.
What was the date?
It was back in 2022. And it just goes to show you people, and Elon wasn't alone, right? How many of us are very pessimistic? Our priorities, and somebody just put that in comments, priorities are in the wrong place. We're going to arrest a diabetic grandmother for praying or just being present at the Capitol, but yet we're going to let these people who've done horrendous things to other humans, see that safe words there, John, safe words, horrendous things to other humans, we're going to turn a blind eye.
So Rude's girl says some go into politics because they think they can make a difference, but most get corrupted because of the money. And that happens early on. I was actually talking to a politician. Yeah, exactly. I was talking to a politician who was running for office here in Montana, and he told me exactly how it happens. On day one, they get you into a room with some other people, and they say, hey, what's your priority? Do me a favor, just vote on this bill. I'll take care of your bill, but you vote on this bill for me. And as soon as you give in and you give out into listen, if it's a great bill, you vote for it. But if you're doing it because you're going to get something out of it, they got you. And then the next one's bigger, and the next one's bigger, the next one's bigger, until you're finally part of the cabal. We're going to transition to Ukraine, but before we do that, I would be remiss. And by the way, thank you to our friend Newt came over here from TikTok. He's missing the Steelers game because of it. So thank you for reminding me. It's time for our sponsor. Just Our Take is sponsored by Steel Rebel Design. Kim and company over at Steel Rebel Design. She makes all the hats, shirts, hoodies, cups, mugs, you name it. If it's got our logo on it and it's our merch, she's making it over there at Steel Rebel Design, including the OG Just Our Take shirt. This was the original Just Our Take shirt. And she's moved into some really cool things. You ready for this, guys? Here you go. So here is the Just Our Take MAGA hat. That's the black on black, dark MAGA, as we call it, with the puff. Here is puff white on snow camo. This is one of my favorites right here. I have one like this. I've been wearing it around town. People are like, what's that say? And they get close. They're like, oh, I love that hat. Can I get one? And then the newest one that Kim came up with, love this one, real happy about it. This is the Make America Great Again, MAGA gold on snow camo. We can do the MAGA gold on black as well, which really pops. It's really a good look. I know that Donald Trump has worn that hat. But you can get all of those at Steel Rebel Design. If you go down below in the comment section, there is a link there to merch, and there's also a link for hats. If you don't see the hat you're looking for, give her a call. She'll get you set up with that. If you use the code JustOurTake at checkout, she'll give you 10% discount. But we want to thank Kim and company over at Steel Rebel Design for taking such great care of us here at Just Our Take. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
So let me pull up a video. And as you know, there's been a lot of talk recently about we're going to end this war in Ukraine. And, I don't think anybody would be happier about it than those of us on the show. This war, and we'll come to that. Let me just throw the video up there and we'll talk through it.
And one of the big things that have been playing out in the mainstream media and more is this deal with Zelensky. You know, the head of Zelensky's Servant of the People faction, David Arakamiya, admits that they rejected a chance for peace intentionally. That's right. He confirmed that the conflict in Ukraine could have ended last spring. All Russia demanded was Ukraine to be neutral. That's all they wanted. Quote, Russia's goal was to put pressure on us so that we would accept neutrality. This was the main thing for them. They were ready to end the war if we accepted neutrality, like Finland once did, and we would give an obligation that we would not join NATO. This was the main thing, he admitted. But then British Prime Minister Boris Johnson came to Kyiv and forbade signing the peace agreement with Russia. He said, let's just fight.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got that. They had a peace deal. All they had to do, and by the way, Ukraine was about to sign it. Zelensky said, yeah, you know what? We're done fighting. Ukraine was about to sign it. All they had to do was say, we're going to be neutral and we're not going to join NATO. And Russia in turn said, we're not going to invade you. And Boris comes in and says, nope, not good enough. You guys have to fight. And you're going to get a whole lot of money if you do fight. And apparently Zelensky has a cocaine problem, and he said, okay, I'll go fight.
The original version of that, by the way, so that's interesting that comes up again, John, because that story has been told a few times, and every time it comes up, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. No, it's a conspiracy. It's not a theory. And the original version of that was that actually Zelensky signed the treaty, the ceasefire, the treaty with Putin, and Boris encouraged him to rip it up and go back on his word. And so I don't know which version is true, but if that's true, he did that. That's an incredible slap in the face. And now here you have Putin saying, these are the things I want. They're reasonable. There are things you can act on, and they will cause no bloodshed. And neither party gets hurt. And instead, Zelensky, the dancer, actor, entertainer extraordinaire, is told by his handlers, Boris was one, By the way, Obama was another. He was told by his handlers, "You will comply."
Yeah. By the way, the former leader of USAID and someone who is working very close with Obama, Samantha Powers, actually went over and delivered that message to Zelensky. By the way, Zelensky, you guys may not know this, it's all money. Why does Boris have so much money? It's all money. He was speaking on behalf of the EU at the time. Didn't I just say he was a cokehead? He is a cokehead. Not Boris, although Boris might be too. I don't know. I have no knowledge about that at all, but I have heard several reports that Zelensky is a cokehead. And Zelensky, by the way, he actually was he was put into a show where he was playing the part of the leader of Ukraine. And it was a television show that was playing throughout Ukraine, and it was wildly popular, and the people absolutely loved him. And so the people got the idea, the people that are running the game here, they got the idea, wouldn't it be a great idea if we just actually made him the president of Ukraine?
Yeah.
And that's how he came to be. The guy truly was just a dancer and an actor, had no idea about any of this stuff. And as it shows, he clearly still has no idea. And then he goes up against people like Donald Trump and says, no, I'm not going to give you anything. You're going to meet my demands.
Oh yeah. How upset was Zelensky that Trump said, how upset was Zelensky when he found out Trump's negotiating for a ceasefire, a stoppage of the war without including him? And what did he say? I'm not going to agree to anything that those two come up with. And the rest of Europe were jumping on the same bandwagon. We will not recognize anything that they come up with. Really? You're really, if Russia says no more war, you're going to say, nope, we keep fighting? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. And so the really sad part about all of this is that literally over 1 million people have died. And for what? Because Boris didn't want there to be peace. He didn't want this peace deal to go through. They don't really, it's all about, I'm going to say it, just our take, folks. It's all about laundering money. All of them are laundering money through Ukraine. Plus, there are a whole lot of other things at stake there. Let's not forget that there were chemical weapon sites there, research and development centers over there. Now, people said, no, that's just a conspiracy, except 60 Minutes and all those other news magazines were doing shows on the chemical weapon sites 2 years before this war ever started. The other thing that happened was that they were talking about the Nazis in Ukraine. Oh, there's no Nazis in Ukraine. Oh, except that they were all doing stories on the Nazis in Ukraine before this war ever started.
Well, and John, I remember when it first came out and, there's no bio labs there, and Putin's talking about, and I watched the press conference with Putin. 3 hours, this guy took questions. He gave a speech, and then he took questions for another hour and 10 minutes. It was incredible. And by the way, he didn't look at his notes once. He just answered questions in detail. But he was talking about the number of bio labs and what their business is, the whole bit. And meanwhile, the mainstream media is saying these things don't exist. It's not true. So I went to google.com because I figured, let me see what happens. The very first thing that popped up when I did the search for it said, this is a baseless statement. It's not true. All the words that basically say this is misinformation. Don't believe it. Literally right below that. And I mean, for pages, it was pictures and stories and articles about these biolabs that were in Ukraine on the border. And there's pictures of them and people and what they're doing. And even Google couldn't scrub it fast enough.
So those of you just tuned in for the first time to Just Our Take, a little bit of background about me. I was in the military for a number of years, and one of the last things I did in the military was intel and wargaming. So we would do computer enhanced wargaming. We'd read the intel. We would go through all these different scenarios based upon the intel that we were getting. We would do an analysis of the intel. Then we'd build a scenario to fight the war with. Well, a couple things had to happen. I was part of the programming team as well as the operator team, as well as the intel team. So part of the programming team, I had to know all of the weapon systems for both sides. So us and whatever adversary we were going to play. So I didn't input those details. So this missile can go this fast against this target. It has a probability of kill of this, that, and that. So all of those details were kind of etched in my brain for a number of years. But then on top of that, the analysis. So when I look at something like the beginning of the Ukraine war, I see it differently than the average person does. I know that we our guest host that comes on Wednesdays, L was also in the Marine Corps, and he has again a different viewpoint. We also have, I've seen things pop up here. I know that I believe Roger, our audience member Roger, he was in the military. So some of us have a little bit of different viewpoint, and we see details that other people may not. But at the beginning of the Ukraine war, they kept on showing all of this battlefield video, like they do in all the wars now, right? They started it in Gulf War I, was the live action from the line. Well, the interesting thing, we didn't see any of that live, and then people started complaining, we're not seeing any of the live stuff. And then they started showing this live stuff, and people started calling them out. Are you kidding me? That came from Call of Duty, episode 3 or whatever. They were putting video game videos in there and claiming that they were war. The other thing was they show Zelensky walking down this war-torn area, and it turns out it was green screen, and the video came from another war, not even in Ukraine. So a lot of people were really questioning this. And then on top of that, they found that right before Boris went over there and said, no, you're not doing it, they were trying to really suck them in and keep them. Sorry, I just got a notice from our friend Kim, who was doing the live stream for us over on TikTok. Her live stream got canceled because of misinformation. I'd like to know.
We're bringing the receipts.
The problem is it's community, and so anybody can say, no, we don't believe that Donald Trump is a human being or whatever. Anyway, so right before that, they were trying to keep Ukraine in the war. So what they did was the Azov Nazis attacked their own Russian loyal people in Kiev and called it the Russians that did it. They said the Russians were killing their own people, which absolutely, listen, I'm not a fan of Putin. I've said it several times on the show, but he was not going to kill his own people. He just didn't do it. So anyway, that was a big thing too. So you have to really look at all of this stuff with a very keen eye and be very careful about what you hear. Trust nothing you hear and only half of what you see.
Amen. Amen. By the way, this is one of many green screen photos or green screen videos. There were several of them, but I turned the sound off. You don't need to hear it, but there were others where the actual video footage, the video footage and the photographs are so bad. You see these blown out buildings, and then there's a car parked on the street next to all the rubble. And I'm just saying, like, we've all seen what happens when the entire street and the building is blown up. There's not going to be a couple of cars just sitting out there hanging out, and a park bench and a tree. All that stuff gets blown up. Anyways, there were dozens. Zelensky wore his famous green shirt all over the world. He dressed up for all the dignitaries, who, by the way, and maybe you forgot this, even Biden stumbled down the stairs of Air Force One in Ukraine to visit Zelensky in the middle of the war. That's how good things were going over there.
So let me show you another. I feel bad about Kim. I hope she doesn't get like a hit to her account over there because of this.
Oh yeah, that would not be good. Sorry, Kim.
Wouldn't be good. So I'm going to have to do my very best to read along because I don't speak Slovakian. But this is the Prime Minister of Slovakia, Robert Fico, and he goes nuclear on Zelensky. So I'm going to try to read the captioning. You guys can try to read too and call me out when I'm wrong so we don't give any more misinformation. I'm not here with Zelensky, and I admit that sometimes I'm fed up with him. He keeps on walking around Europe begging and extorting for money, asking others. This simply has to end.
Skúste trošku myslieť aj na túto krajinu. Nie iba na svoje úzkoprosé politiky.
did a terrible job here. Let's see. Not just for your own narrow, simple political purposes.
Čo budeme robiť pre Boha, keď ten plyn nebude?
What are you going to do when the gas is gone? Do you think the Germans
Vy si
will
myslíte, že Nemci nám pošlú plyn, keď budú mať oni
send us gas when they run out?
keď oni budú mať málo, nepošlú nám nič.
They don't send us anything. Oh my gosh. This guy speaks like I don't even have him on like super fast right now. I'm tired now.
That's what English sounds like to them.
Bottom line is the Prime Minister of Slovakia is really upset and fed up with him. I'm done with the whole idea that you're going to be stealing and begging for money anymore. And, you know, who do you think you are? That kind of thing. I get the feeling that pretty much everyone is done with Zelensky and his war.
Yeah, he's done. And so is Poland. And next, you know, we'll see what happens with France and Spain and the UK. I think the UK will be the last one to let go. Germany, if he becomes the new chancellor, Merz has got a lot on his hands right now with, you know, they're going through some of their own immigration issues, and he stated very strongly how he wants to address that. So I have a feeling they're going to be looking internally for a little bit to try to clean their house up before they start sending any more money to Ukraine.
It's really interesting as we watch this whole thing unfold. But again, I go back to the sad part that over 1 million people died that didn't have to. And this war in the end, it's going to basically go back to status quo. So Russia's going to end up with what they started with. Ukraine is going to end up with what they started with, except for bigger piles of rubble. And both of them lost. I think that at this point it's close to 380,000 people that Russia's lost, and over 600 something that Ukraine's lost. That's horrible. And for what?
You decimate the next generation for what? And it's political power and it's financial power. But certainly it's not because you care about the people there. So that's absolutely horrible. So when they call Trump the warmonger.
Yeah, because he's starting all these wars.
Yeah.
Just a side note, Kim can't go live again until March 2nd. I'm sorry, Kim. We really are sorry. We apologize. Had no idea that was going to be the case. I think that we're going to watch what happens with Ukraine. I do believe that Trump and Putin have hammered out a deal, and then they've hammered out a deal with Zelensky. Originally, Zelensky was saying, I'm not going to deal with you. I'm not going to have anything to do with you. He's conflicted because, again, he's not a politician. He is loving the money that he's been getting. And, you know, the other side being the other folks in the UK EU and UK that absolutely want the war to continue. They're saying, look, you'll keep getting money if, and he's like, oh, I don't know what to do. You know what? Here's what you do. I would not want to be on the opposite side of Donald Trump.
Right.
I just wouldn't, because he doesn't have a habit of losing anything. So
I think what you do is you count yourself lucky that you might be able to leave your position, not give back all the billions you probably have and all the houses you have and whatever else you own, and get to continue to live out the rest of your life wherever you choose to in the world, because probably that's what's going to end up happening. But if you choose to stay in this fight, you're now fighting against a unified U.S. and Russia, and a couple of other European countries. There is you will gain nothing.
Yeah, all we want is this thing to end. There's no reason to keep going.
Right.
I'm going to move on because it's almost time for us to shut the old bunker down. However, you know, the one thing that the Democrats were really good at when they had all that USAID money was coming up with great signs, great slogans, wonderful chants. When they were out there doing their rioting and everything, they had chants, man. Boy, did they have no carrots, no peas, or something like that. Here's the latest chants from our friends over in the Democrat Party.
More funding, not less. And research funding theft. More funding, not less.
Hey, RFK, hands off the FDA. Hey, RFK, we remember JFK. Fascism is a virus too, and the people who are out here fighting in sub-freezing temperatures, They are the antibodies. We are the antibodies. And my friends, a rally a day keeps the fascists away.
John, John, okay, now I don't have the ones where all the buildings are being burned and the police are being shoved and rocks thrown at them, but this is a recent one. This might look familiar to you. I'll just I'll pan this. No, I turn off all the sounds so you won't hear the chanting unless you want to hear it. I mean, it's pretty well orchestrated. But if you remember Columbia, they had all the tents. They actually had a lot of supplies and signs, and there were people there that were not at the college that were there out there creating the protest and giving them all the cool chants, bringing in the drums. All that's gone now.
Lots of water. They had lots of water because they were throwing it at the people. But yeah, I wonder what I would guess that the USAID money dried up, and so did this. And yeah, Rude's girl says she wants to hear the drum. That drum and the can. Someone is always hitting a can, and then someone's got a trumpet, but they have no idea how to play it, so it's one note.
Oh, they ran out of money. The USAID money ran out. So, if the Soros Foundation wants to fund these things now, they're going to have to reach into their own piggy bank to do it.
Because Soros was getting all their money from USAID. Here's another fun one. Did you know, you mentioned it in the headline section of the beginning. Did you know that Kamala just won an award? Amazing. She won an award.
Oh my God. I'm just laughing. Oh boy. I mean, is her hair looking like she has some blonde highlights in that hair? Maybe it's red.
Kamala Harris won the Chairman's Award from the NAACP, and I know that Marie has something to say about that.
John, I think this is in her full court press to become governor of California. And it will just be one more positive news cycle after another as long as she doesn't talk, because every time she talks, she sounds like she's had a few martinis at lunch. So as long as she doesn't talk, she just smiles and does what she just did there, then she could become the next governor of California.
Well, what she'd have to do is she would have to get past Chad Bianco, who, by the way, Chad Bianco will play the video, the live uncut video from 60 Minutes video interview, where she says, not sure I can do that. Oh, what do you want me to say? How do I say that? I don't even know how to say it. And then, AI is 2 words, and it means artificial intelligence, and it's on computers, and our computers can tell us things.
And they use the cloud, which is up there. You know what, though? In California, Chad, that's right.
Yep. And then the one thing that Mrs. John was telling me was that in her social media feed, she keeps on seeing everybody complaining about all of these people from forestry and the park services getting let go. And so today, or over the weekend, the good Park Service people put this flag over the edge of El Capitan, upside down flag, meaning country in distress. And I couldn't help but think, if you or I were to go up to the top of El Capitan and put any kind of a banner, even if we put the upright flag, what do you think would happen to us?
I could tell you what would happen. You'd be arrested, and you'd be charged with some crime, trespassing, or I don't know what crime, but you'd be charged with a crime for sure.
100%. But these guys are park officials, and their poor jobs are being less. Listen, I don't want anyone to lose a job. However, we know that, and David's closer to this number than I am, but we do know that during the Biden administration, a lot of their job growth, I say with air quotes, their job growth was in the government sector, not the private sector. a huge portion of it. And I don't remember the numbers. I know you do, Dave.
I can tell you, well, at net, because there was actually they overstated the job growth every single month for like 13 months in a row. But net, there were more government jobs than private sector jobs. And by the way, in the private sector, it was all part-time job growth, and we just lost, it was something like 1.3 or 1.8 million professional full-time jobs. So you have losing professional full-time jobs in the private sector, moving to service part-time jobs, and then government jobs just swelled like a pimple in the 8th grade. It was crazy. And so, and then of course government spending swelled. So then the headline from The Economist is, our GDP is so strong and our job market's so strong, but it's all based on borrowing money and creating more debt, borrowing money, increasing taxes, so you can bloat the government even further. It's got to trim its way back.
I think the Just Our Take crowd is still on Kamala here. It's pretty good. Award for Word Salad of the Year. That's a great one, Alice. Absolutely. And then Rude's Girl says, just like her intelligence, artificial.
It's artificial. Actually, if it was, she might have some intelligence. If I don't know, it's insulting the people they put in front of us and said, here's the leader, here's the person who should be the leader of the greatest country on earth, Kamala Harris. And then she speaks, you're like, what the heck? Yeah.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, and she's sitting there. Someone finally elbows her. That's you. Oh,
that's me.
Alice has another great point. All these people being let go just shows you how bloated the government is. 100%. And that's part of the problem. Now, look, we don't want these people being out of work. It makes me sad. Yeah. But, if these people have real skills and what have you, the economy is going to come back roaring. It absolutely will. And when it does, these people will find good paying real jobs where they actually have to show up and they have to attribute or contribute something to the success of that business.
John, you're so right. That's what happened in Argentina, and that's what will happen here too, because as production begins to grow in the United States, as people start to, like, some of the tax policy starts to actually give people who want to have small and medium-sized businesses the room to grow, what will they do? Same thing they did last time this happened, right? They will then invest in the future. They'll hire people, they'll build, they'll innovate, and then the jobs themselves the jobs will come. It happens every time.
Yeah,
so I agree.
I have another video. I know that you have something coming up too. I have another video here. Our good friend Adam Kinzinger, the crier in chief, he had something to say too.
And Elon Musk smiling and giggling on the stage of CPAC with a chainsaw that is going to come back in every commercial against every Republican candidate about, you didn't get your Social Security check on time, or veterans that have taken their own life. This guy was laughing about it on the stage with a chainsaw, and that's going to be
disagree.
Oh, Adam.
Well, I don't know if that's true. I think, and I agree with your point earlier, by the way. When good, hardworking, because by the way, of all the people that were let go, I am sure there were some who actually were showing up and working hard every day, even if they were doing it remotely, because there are still really good people out there. They're not all lazy, staying at home with the mouse jiggler people, right? Some of them are actually cared. That's horrible. My heart goes out to you. I understand. I can empathize to what that's like. So I don't want to minimize that. On the other hand, you're talking about agencies that have been allowed to bloat over decades, and it has cost our country its financial health. It's got to change. You couldn't run your household like that. There's no way we can continue to run the country like that. Something drastic doesn't change, we don't have a country anymore. So it has to happen.
Well, and I know that it was mentioned in one of the videos that we played earlier where they said that they fired a bunch of people and then they hired them back. Well, part of the process was we're letting you go. You have an opportunity to re-interview for your position. And if there's a compelling reason why you should be here and you are contributing something, we want to know about it. But in the meantime, you guys have got about 150,000 jobs too many. That's just a made up number. Fact checkers, don't call me out on that one. I made the number up on the fly. I do want to have a rebuttal, though, to Adam Kinzinger's comment about veterans losing their benefits. The brand new Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Tom Cotton, former Senator Tom Cotton, he gave a message to the troops because so many of these rumors were going out there. So I'm going to play that now.
It's Doug again. I can't believe it. I've been here about a week. And you know the one thing that hadn't changed about
I'm sorry, I called him Tom Collins. Tom Collins is a drink.
So Doug drinks after work.
You know where my mind's going right after the show. Anyway, Doug Collins.
Doug again. I can't believe it. I've been here about a week. And you know the one thing that hadn't changed about DC? It's the media up here that like to tell you stuff that they want you to believe. I'm going to give you a breakdown. This is how it happens in the media up here. They take a possibility and then they run with a story because they want you to believe it because they got to write something. And then frankly, they don't know what to write because right now President Trump is making progress and this administration is doing what it said, making promises and keeping them. But let me tell you one that's right now. There's a one that's going around in the media right now about veterans benefits being cut. I'm the Secretary of VA. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not happening. They can do hypotheticals all they want. I'm telling you about reality. Reality is veterans benefits aren't getting cut. In fact, we're actually giving and improving services in our Veteran Benefits Administration. They're actually clearing cases quicker. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. There's also this rumor out there that Doge is out there, is this infamous thing that's going to take personal information and do that. I'm telling you what, we've got Doge representatives here that are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that is looking at our contracts, making sure that we have the best run facility for efficiency to make sure who? The veteran gets the care they need. I'm happy to partner with them to find things that we need to get rid of so that we can put the money where it belongs. You know where that is, back with our veteran. President Trump's hit the ground running. We've hit the ground running. And like I'm saying, if you want to come for the real truth, come to see me.
Yeah, amen. I love it. Boy, we need more of that.
Thank you very much, Tom Collins.
Tom Collins. Yeah, Tom Collins.
Thank you very much. That was good. I mean, it's always good when we have the opportunity to.
What?
Sorry. It's always good when we have the opportunity to set the record straight from directly from the horse's mouth. So,
yeah.
Thank you for that. It's good.
Look, I just had one more thing I wanted to share, just because I love the hypocrisy here. So did you hear California Governor Newsom asked for $40 billion? He has the audacity to ask the federal government to send him a check for $40 billion because they had some fires there. It was caused by the wind, and it destroyed 16,000 structures and displaced some people, and they just need some money. And if the federal government could send them a check for $40 billion, they think that might be enough to cover things. And of course, there are some of us who look and go, $40 billion. First off, no, you can't have any money. Part of it is because you refuse to do some of the things that you need to prevent these disasters from happening. And on top of that, you refuse to do some things that help our entire country, like maybe requiring an ID to vote. And not only that, and this is where I wanted to play this little fun one.
Is with the California Department of Finance.
But I will do it with sound because it's more fun.
Is with the California Department of Finance. So in the current year, to cover undocumented individuals in Medi-Cal, we're spending $9.5 billion total funds.
So it's not the $6 billion that people continue to talk about in the media. It's $9.5 billion.
Was a Budget Act number. This is a revised number based on the governor's budget updated estimates. So of the $9.5 billion, $8.4 billion is general fund.
I'm just saying, you went from a deficit. It looks like you have a balanced budget for 2024. You are projecting to be negative somewhere between 20 and 35 billion in 2025 billion. And you're saying you're allocating $9.6 billion, 9 point something billion dollars for Medicare, Medi-Cal for your undocumented immigrants that you've taken in with open arms. And now you're going to ask for $40 billion from the U.S. government, from the federal, from us, to come and pay for your mistakes. I don't know, John.
Donald Trump has already been very clear about this. If you are not, if you are a sanctuary state, you're not getting anything.
I
Pretty
just
easy.
want to say I agree.
I also want to put this back up. This was from Rude's Girl talking about what Doug Cotton said about. There's a military article on Doug Collins, Doug Cotton, Tom Cotton, Bob Marley. There is an article on military.com about the VA and what's going on over there.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, I can tell you as a veteran, leading up to Donald Trump being in there, if you remember, people were dying in the parking lot at the VA centers. They were waiting online for 6-8 months to have some heart issues, cardiac care, things like that. I mean, there were so many people that were dying waiting in line. And I can tell you, it was a disaster. Donald Trump came in. He had that fixed. Again, personal use or personal experience. He had that fixed. Doug Collins, Tom Collins, Doug Collins, Bob Cotton. There's you guys picking on me again. Anyway, Donald Trump had that VA turned around really fast. And I know that Doug Collins, who is both a doctor and a veteran, is going to do even more for the VA. So I'm excited to see what comes this way. My personal opinion, the VA medical during Donald Trump's reign was really, really good. I mean, really, really good. Now, the VA mental health has always been abysmal. We're still having 22 veterans a day die because of suicide.
Terrible.
It's just unacceptable. 22 a day, that's almost 1 an hour, and it can be fixed. So that's my banner, and I'm
This is how you know. This is how you know Trump loves the troops, right? When he came in, he said, "No more. If you can't get to a doctor in the VA with, the time, it's a reasonable period of time, what, a couple of days or a week, you can go to any medical service you want and bill the government back. We'll pay for it. You deserve the best medical care we can get you." I mean, if that doesn't say I love and respect our troops, what does? I mean, it's a guy who puts his heart out there.
And again, from personal experience, it's not just if you can't, if there's a longer line, if you have to drive more than a certain distance, I believe it's 30 miles to a primary care or to a care facility, you can go to one it's called Care in the Community. You can go to one of the, there's a place here in Missoula, Montana called Bone and Joint. They are the specialists for bones and joints. And they don't have a specialist like that nearby. So me and all my vet friends get to go there. And they get top quality care for all of those broken bones, arthritic bones, everything else that we got during our time in the military. Tom Collins is a great beverage, Alice. I agree with you. And Doug Collins is a great VA secretary.
Everybody will remember Doug Collins' name now. You just made him a household name, John. Well done.
Yeah. So Roger, again, our friend that's also a vet, this is what they would tell you: shut up, take your ibuprofen, and change your socks.
It doesn't hurt. There's no blood.
I'm telling you, that rings true to too many vets right now. So, hey, Dave, I do. If you guys don't remember, I think it was last week, we talked about a veteran friend of mine that's having a tough time. He has a GoFundMe out there. That GoFundMe is on our it's on our page at the Just Our Take show on Facebook. And I'm also going to show you a link here. We'll put it in the story. Do I have it here, or is it here? Anyway, if there's anything you guys can do, that would be awesome. Go to our page. It's Just Our Take on Facebook, and there is a link there to Richard's GoFundMe. Again, good vet. He's having a tough time. He lost his wife of 28 years very suddenly. And prayers and or anything you guys can do would be awesome. With that, anything you got, David? By the way, we had a question from producer Marie earlier, and she was asking if we heard about the civics lesson. And yes, we did. I'm going to bring that back on the Wednesday show. We'll have that on Wednesday show, because I agree. That was absolute fire and flames and everything else. It was amazing, and a great piece to put on the show. So thanks for reminding us of that.
Yeah. So look, Wednesday's only a couple days away. Imagine the number of headlines. But one thing that's going to be really interesting, and I know you'll be paying attention to this, is Monday. I think the heads of state from 13 different countries are going to meet with Zelensky in Ukraine. So we may have some interesting updates early in the week. And then also, I'm very eager to see not only what Patel has, what he has in store for the first couple of full days, but also what Bongino has to say. So we'll be paying very close attention to that. And, you know, I'm so eager to hear from Pam Bondi on the Epstein files. I don't know if we're going to hear anything this week. We've talked about that, but that's another one that just the moment we get to hear something about that, not just who's on the list, like you said earlier, but what actions will be taken. I think that's going to be really interesting to follow. So there's just a couple things.
Yeah, on that, by the way, Pam Bondi and Tulsi Gabbard. So we have Attorney General and DNI working together on the RFK, JFK, and Martin Luther King files, as well as the Epstein, Diddy, and Weinstein files. So all of those things are on the desk, and those are big priorities. Once they go through and redact and do what they need to do and review them, they go back to the president's desk, and then he releases them. And so, man, oh man, there's been so much built up anticipation of these. If they don't come out, there is going to be some fire. Now, I just want to bring this up. I did have it in the headlines, but it looks like our friend, the Good Texan, shows us that Trump fires Joint Chiefs of Staff after alleged coup plot exposed by James O'Keefe video. We'll probably be able to put that video up. I'm not sure what James O'Keefe and the OMG network. I'm not sure what their rules are and whether we can do it or not. We'll look into it, but it is good video and it's good to look at. However, Trump picked Dan Kane to head the Joint Chiefs of the military. So he was actually a retired 3-star and he worked in special forces. Imagine that. He does have affinity towards those special forces folks, but he brought him out of retirement to lead up the Joint Chiefs. So that's pretty cool.
Yes. And just want to comment on the Good Texan. Yes, I hope they go and live stream it. Who was it? What's his name? That was another
David.
media,
Explain that comment, please.
Which one? The gold check?
Yeah.
So they're going to Fort Knox, and by the way, no one has been allowed to actually audit Fort Knox since 1975 or something. And so every time there's an audit, it's like, yep, we checked and everything's there. But nobody's actually been there. And I think Rand Paul wanted to go, or maybe it was the other Kennedy senator, wanted to go once, and they changed the timing, couldn't make it happen. No one outside of the insiders have been in that vault since the 70s. And so this will be very exciting to see. Is the gold that we said was there, and that's on our books, still there or not? And it's interesting. A lot of people think that gold is not there anymore, and we've been lying to the American public for 50 years or 30 years or whatever it is. So it'll be fascinating. I can't think of his name. There was one of the super lefty mustache guy who was going through the tomb. Remember, he was going to the tomb and he was live broadcasting it. It's going to be exciting what we find down
here. He was going through Al Capone's safe.
Yeah, that's it. Al Capone's safe. That's the sharp memory, right? Me and Biden. Anyways, it would be fantastic to see Elon live stream him and Trump going to Fort Knox. I don't know if they can because of all the security measures, but that would be priceless.
Yeah, he ended up getting kicked off of Fox too. That was Geraldo Rivera. But thanks, Rizzo. But yeah, so listen, there is another conspiracy that there's more money there than should be. And if that's the case, is that as big a scandal?
Well, the reason why people believe there's not any gold there is because gold oftentimes was lent out to other countries to then lend to other people to borrow money against. It's a whole Ponzi scheme.
There's also a big conspiracy out there that a lot of that money ended up in the Vatican, and then we took that money back from the Vatican. There's also a conspiracy that there was a lot of gold in the World Trade Center that was removed the day before. So that would have been 9/10/01. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it too. So yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Good Texan. That would be a good one as well. If we do that, if that's like a midweek thing and we can stream that, we will absolutely be co-streaming that one.
Yeah.
That said, I know that there's going to be a court case coming up where Donald Trump is going to be sued by the governor of Maine because she wants to continue allowing biological men to work in or to compete in women's sports. So let's see what happens there. And yeah, it should be an exciting few days.
Oh, yes. Lots to talk about. Well, thank you, John. Thanks for putting up with my technical difficulties tonight. Looks like we got through.
You never told anyone why you had technical difficulties.
Oh, we just had a big storm come through. And by the way, there's another one coming tomorrow. And I've already been messaged by a lot of people. Hey, a big windstorm tomorrow. How's your house coming along? Whew, we'll find out.
So David's house was severely damaged during a big cyclone bomb that hit where he lived and put a big old 36-inch tree through his house. And the big storm comes up today, knocks the power out, knocked the internet out. He literally came on at 1 minute before 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time when we go live. Anyway, glad you made it, Dave. Thank you to all of our regulars. Thanks for those people that came over from TikTok. We hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed having you here. You're more than welcome to come back. Please hit that thumbs up. And if you don't follow us already, click the follow the account, not the channel. Click to follow the account. We'd love to have you back, and you'll also get a notification that we are live. We're live every Sunday and Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And if there is an event that comes up, like we're going to go see Capone's Gold, we will live stream that as well. You'll get that notification as well. So thank you guys. Thank you everybody for being here. Have a blessed week, and we will see you on Wednesday right here at Just Our Take.
Thanks, everyone. Good
What
night.
will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we the people choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
Make 'em back to me.